All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back. I'm your host, V. Bailey, and we are streaming live here at the H. And I'm so excited about our new series that we are starting tonight, and that is Love, Marriage, and Partners. And before we get into it, I would like for everyone, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, to just take this opportunity to go ahead and subscribe and share the link with anyone who you believe that can benefit from this conversation tonight. I'm sure that we will be, hearing a lot of valuable information. And so I'm so excited. Well, for everyone who knows me and has been following me for some time, you know that since I started my content creating, what I started with was my show, Virtual First Dates. And that was all just about dating and, people just connecting. The dating topic has been a popular one for some time, but there has been a disconnect between us. And so I wanted to create something fun and unique for singles and, just things to learn, about dating. And what we all learned, as well as, myself, because, as a creator, it was more of a teaching moment and, research really for me. And what I learned is that there was a lot of work, still to be done. A lot of us are out there dating and not really prepared, to didn't really have the tools, I would say, or how to use those tools to be in a successful relationship. I think a lot of us didn't realize that we're not showing up as our authentic self. And that's something that I noticed in getting to know some of the people who were on the show is, just you be one way with me, and then, they go live and do the dates and just turn into the representative. And so we wanted to kind of like touch on, some topics, surrounding that, just showing up as our authentic selves and also, learning about each other, men and women, understanding each other. It's just like we race out there to date, but then we don't even really understand our partners. And so that's what we focused on for the next few shows. And so now that we've done the work, we've had the doctors come on, the therapists, and, different individuals sharing their experience. It only made sense, for us to finally get to this place that we're trying to do well and get to, which is marriage. And so who better to teach us than couples who are doing it, who are married. And so without further ado, I'd love to introduce my friends, Christina and Corey, and they're also newlyweds. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so welcome. So I want us to just kind of jump right in. And if you guys can introduce yourselves and just tell the audience who you are, names, what is you do for a living, and where are you from? So Christina.
My name is Christina, now Devereaux. I am a conversions analyst for a mortgage servicing company. And I am originally from Trenton, New Jersey, but I have been living in DFW in Texas for the last 5 years.
Okay.
My name is Corey Devereaux. I am a project manager for an IT company in Plano, and I've lived in Texas my whole life. I was born in Texas, and I've lived in a bunch of cities in Texas, but I've been in Dallas mainly since like 5th grade. So this has been my home for a long time now.
Awesome. So it's like country meets city.
A little bit, yeah.
It's like opposites attract. I'm like, and it's so funny because you do see a lot of that. Like the cutest couples is like they're completely from different worlds. Because I would say that. I mean, I'm from California, but being in Texas or living in Atlanta, it's very different, so it's so interesting how people kind of, come together, and it's like, that they grew up very differently. Well, can you guys tell us, how you all met? Like, how did you connect?
Sure. Yeah. So we met actually on Hinge.
Okay.
Yes.
I love how Christina looked at you like, you want to tell him or me?
It's a little taboo, you know, like meeting like outside and stuff, but
I mean, not anymore, but at the time, it was right when the pandemic was really hitting. So,
right.
You know, people weren't really outside a lot. So, you know, it was just easier that way. And it still, you know, for the most part, seems easier that way. But yeah, we met on Hinge, and she was irresistible. And so I had to swipe.
Stop.
Like, stop, keep going, but stop. No, for sure. Because, I feel like that was unfortunately, it wasn't a great time, you know, the pandemic, but it was great for the dating sites, though, because it just was booming. You know, people we're so used to being out, you know, out there doing whatever, like, you know, and just having that freedom. And once the pandemic hit, it was just like after a month in the house, people were like losing it, especially Texas. I feel like we were the first ones back out, you know, in the street. Like, okay, I'm going out here. I'm gonna try and do the social distancing, but I need to be out this house. So, so no, that's awesome. Okay, so how did you know that your spouse was the one? Because, you know, a lot of times, before we get into it, but like a lot of times there are people who say, okay, I knew from the moment, you know, that I met this person. And then there's some people who were like, I couldn't stand him, or I couldn't stand, you know, this person. It's usually the woman saying, I couldn't stand him. He was annoying, da, 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 da. But then here they are, like married, you know, for years. So I would love to hear how you guys knew that you were the one for each other.
I think for me, it wasn't like a one like specific moment where I'm like, oh, this is the one for me. There were just like tiny little instances and moments where it was like, oh, wow. Like, I guess he always said what he was going to, like, whatever he said he was going to do, he actually did it. Like the littlest things of being like, hey, I'm going to pick this up before I come to your house. And he would do it. And like, also too, like things like he never came empty handed. These are things that I realized like maybe like a month ago or a week ago, but like he never came to my house empty handed. He would have desserts, or, you know, we got a little bit more serious, like flowers, or he came with like a bottle of wine. And at that time I was not a red wine drinker, and he is, and he would drink white wine, and and the bottles, he bought them at the gas station. Those things were adding up. But I was like, wow, like he put an effort, and he always, anything that he said he was going to do, he just like, he did. I never had to be like, well, did you do this? Or, hey, don't forget, like he just, he did whatever expectation I had in my mind for what I wanted in a man. He just exceeded them.
Oh, that is so sweet. See, Corey was raised right. He said, don't come. That's how, that's kind of Southern too. It's like, don't come to nobody's house and showing up empty handed. Like, make sure. Say, don't go embarrassing your mama. Oh my goodness. So Corey, what was it for you? Besides, she was irresistible on Hinge.
You know, she just she felt like home. You know, we're both the exact type of mixed. So her mom is white, my mom's white, her dad's black, my dad's black. And, you know, just from like the initial meeting, I could just tell that, you know, we had very similar upbringings, very similar issues that we dealt with being mixed race in the 80s and 90s. You know, our parents had similar upbringing. So it just felt very, very much like home to me. And I think that's one thing that I've always wanted in a long-term spouse, if not wife, is just somebody who always kind of made me feel like I was at home and made me feel comfortable. And it's been like that since day one with her. So.
No, that's so sweet.
We talked for 4 hours when we first met. Like they were shutting the place down, and I was like, I have to go walk my dog. Like I have to leave. It's like 10:30 at night on like a Thursday. Like I have to go home.
Right. No, I love those type of connections when you connect with someone and it's like time stands still and you forget about everything else. You don't care. You might even be hungry. You'd be like, I forgot I needed to eat. You know, like you're forgetting about everything else because it's just such a great like connection or conversation. You know, the intellectual conversation. I think us women, we love that. We love to learn. You know, you meet a man and you can learn something from him. You're like, where you been? Okay. Okay, you might get to talk to me again, you know. But you love that, and then when you have that extra piece where it's just a connection. It's so interesting because I went to the singles conference with my church over the weekend, and Pastor Mike Jr. was there, and he said something. He said that dating is not it's not physical, it's spiritual, right? Like in those relationships, and like that is the point of it. Like, is that spiritual connection? Are you feeding each other's spirit? And so, yes, like we're speaking about that intellectual conversation, those conversations that you just feel like, wow, this was great. But does it, you know, is it feeding your soul? Like, and that feeling, as you mentioned, Corey, like feeling like home, like that to me, I feel like that's spiritual because it's kind of like, home is like, I don't know. I feel like it's just timeless and like, and it, you know, it, no matter where you go, I guess that feeling is still the same, no matter where you are, like, you know, in life. And so I don't know. I think that's so sweet.
It's also like important to have a partner who relates to you and relates to your home. And I felt like, you know, from our initial meeting, I could tell that, you know, I would be welcome in her home and she would be welcome in my home. We just fit, you know, together. So it was always really comfortable and really, really safe, you know.
Right. Ooh, using all these good words.
I told you, I tell you, I said when he was talking to me, I was like, oh, he has a great vocabulary.
Right. And then too, like it's kind of tapping on the things that like I think that a lot of times as women, you know, that we want, but as I mentioned, you know, like how important it is to like understand the opposite sex. A lot of times it's like you're saying, you know, you want these things, or maybe you don't know how to articulate it, but it's just awesome when, you know, that person gets you, you know, and they're just speaking. You don't even have to nag them. I love that. I love it. Yes. What would you say that? Okay. Yeah. So my next question is, did you marry the person that you thought that you would? Like, you know how we all have these ideas of like, oh, I'm going to marry a man, looks like this, acts like this, does this job, whatever. He's from here. He can cook. He could whatever, you know. Would you say that, Christina? I'll let you go first.
I don't think I really, not that I never thought of marriage. Like you always want to reach that, you know, that monument in life as a woman, but I've never really like imagined who the partner would be. Okay. I think because at the time when I was like dating, I knew that none of the men that I were dating were like prospects for marriage. So it wasn't like maybe this person or that person, or it like might look like this or look like that. But I am glad that I did end up connecting and marrying a person with the same background of like mixed race, because there's just certain things that I don't think that another race or would be able to understand or get the way we identify with certain struggles or
those same experiences.
Yeah. So I didn't expect that. It's not something that I was searching for or looking for, but I feel like that's why we clicked so well, because we have like the same upbringing, and our parents kind of have the same mindset with the way they raised us and like our upbringing. So, but kind of like what I see now, like I'm very happy with what I ended up with as far as age, race, all of that. So yeah, I didn't really ever think about it, but I'm glad I got what I got.
Right. God knows what we need. You know, we're like putting out these crazy requests, you know, we think we know. And it's just like, oh, it's I got what I needed that I didn't even know, you know, like yeah. Corey?
I would say yes. Like my mom is a very strong, you know, independent woman. My mother had me at 16. She had my sister at 17. So she's had to she had to grow up really fast, and she had to be strong really fast. And so I've always wanted somebody, you know, it may be cliche, but I've always wanted somebody like my mom, somebody strong, somebody who was independent and who was ambitious. And, you know, I attribute a lot of that to where she's from, being that she's from the East Coast. She's from New Jersey. So, you know, in my experience, women from that part of the country are always very strong, very
right, because they have to be.
It was a very pleasant surprise when I met her and I found out where she was from, and you just get to know her. She's a very strong woman, and that's what I wanted, and that's what I got for sure.
Okay. That's awesome. No, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. It's interesting which way people go though, because sometimes people, you know, like as you were mentioning, like strong and independent. I know if you guys are on social media, you hear all these different things about like, oh, like, you know, like kind of like it's against, you know, strong women being strong and being independent, or even having that like pizzazz, you know, about them. And so it's just nice to hear, you know, that different, you know, perspective, which I think that is more realistic. You know, there's people like that, you know, and then there's some people who don't. But I feel like nowadays, like on social media, we're getting it one direction, like one way. And I feel like it's just not as, it's not, realistic, you know, because there's so many different personalities and upbringings, as you guys mentioned. So based on your upbringing, based on, you know, your experiences, you're going to be different, you know, and so it's nice to hear, you know, that valuing in those differences.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, another thing I'll say is like, I think that it's important to differentiate like dating and being married, you know, like some people to date a certain type of woman, but you may rethink it when you're thinking about a life partner. There's qualities that you need in a wife that are not going to be something that you may want to date, you know, so.
Right. Very true. Very true. I think we go through those different stages on both sides. You know, guys, you have a lot to think about when it comes to marriage, because that's like a big deal. And it's I think it's different for you guys versus us. And then for us, I think we all have that little time where we're like, oh, okay, I want this bad boy, you know, have this experience. But you're like, oh no, it's not going to be serious. Like we're parents or anything. No. Just around the city, you know. So absolutely. So what would you guys say? How does your partner make you better? In what ways would you say? Just a couple things of how, you know, Corey makes you better, you know, Christina.
I think Corey makes me better in a ways of like, he's very emotionally mature. So I feel like this was my first time in a relationship with a man who was emotionally mature, and it brought out a more a calmer side to me, a more just like, sometimes I feel like, and like through, and we'll get into this too, like where I went through therapy and stuff like that. But I feel like I was so used to, and also it has to do with also my upbringing, like what I saw in the household, what my environment was. But like, you know, you usually, when you argue, you argue, you know, you're met with force. And so I was so used to a certain style of communication, and that when we, like, I think when we first moved in, you know, you really get to know someone when you move in, right? So we're trying to put IKEA furniture together and put it together. And, you know, there was a couple of, you know, conversations, you know, and I'm like, I have, you know, I'm flipping out, not necessarily flipping out, but like the way I reacted is not how I react now. And so like, you know, like I was tending to walk away from like I was very dismissive, like being like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Or I would say my part and scream and then walk away. And normally in another relationship or relationships in the past, I would have been met with the same type of energy. Whereas Corey was like, I don't like when you speak to me that way. And I prefer if blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, how could you not how could you not be like, you know what, you're right.
Right. Like, let me get it together. Yeah.
You know, still becoming rah, rah, rah after the person
Right.
just said, hey, how you're speaking to me and how you're communicating, like, I don't appreciate that. I would,
Right.
and then, you know what, I love this person and I need to see their side and what they're saying. And then maybe there's some things I need to fix with myself. So Corey has made me just so much calmer and just so much more, I guess, just emotionally aware of things, just conscious of how I speak. And I used to have like a lot of knee-jerk reactions to things. And now I'm just, let me think about this and how what I'm about to say may affect my partner. So I just feel like I'm a lot more emotionally mature and just calmer in like my day-to-day things.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you're so right about that. It's just like when a person reacts a certain way, because sometimes, depending on your personality, you might be like, oh, I'm gonna give what you gave me. I mean, and a lot of us have been that way. Like, you know, I think over time, you know, with gaining some emotional maturity and, you know, just growing up, you learn like, okay, well, I don't need to do that all the time. You know, like this is not going to get us anywhere. Like I'm popping off, you know, this other person and they're probably going to pop off too, you know, or however it is that they usually react to, you know, conflict or what have you. And so just being able to catch yourself and realize like, okay, you know, obviously I love this person. We live together, right? And so it's like if they address and then address it head on, that's definitely commendable, Corey. You know, it's just putting it out there like, hey, hold on, like, I don't like that. I don't appreciate that. And not in a way that's like forceful or like you getting the attitude and matching that energy, right? It's like you set the tone, right? You set the tone like, okay, no, this is not cool. And I'm going to talk to you respectfully. And so, yeah, as you said, Christine, it's like, how can you react any other kind of way? You know, that kind of just said like, okay, maybe there's things I have to work on, but, you know, it sounds more like you were ready, you know, like obviously to make those changes and honor your commitment. So, yeah.
For sure.
So, Corey, what about you? What have you learned? What has Christina taught you?
She's taught me how to be a better like man. I think it takes the right woman to make you want to be the best version of not just yourself, but of what, you know, as growing up as men, we all look to our fathers, to our uncles, to, you know, whatever it may be, to like what it is, what kind of man you want to be, you know, and you might not be able to get there by, you know, working a job or, you know, living through your life. But sometimes I think when a woman that you want to be that man for comes into your life, kind of just, you snap into gear and you say, I can't do the things that I was doing before. Like I have to be the best version of myself because I want to take care of this woman. I want to provide for this woman. I want to give her the future that she deserves. And so she just makes me the best version of myself. Like she constantly pushes me to be ambitious and to be healthy and to be mentally stable, all the things that you need to be a good human being. Like she pushes me to be those things. So I always tell her like she's had such an impact on my life, and it's positive for sure.
Right. No, that's super awesome, is just being able to that realization, right? You know, is when that happens, like, okay, wait, like, you know, yeah, as you mentioned, like you're learning from guys, they're learning from men, you know, other men that are in their life, but there is that other piece of learning that, you know, that happens when, you know, the opposite sex get together. It's like, oh, wait, there's some more stuff, right? You know, because it's more so about like that treatment, I think, you know, when we learn from, you know, the opposite sex because we're different from each other. So it's just like, okay, you've been doing things this way to get you through as being a single man, but to be a man in a relationship, here are some of the things that gonna have to work on, right? Because now it's two of us coming together to be one, and we can't be doing our own thing, you know, and really think it's going to be smooth, like a smooth operated machine. Because you want to do it this way, she's wanting to do it that way. And it's just like, okay, how are we going to come together? So I love that. That's awesome. And so, okay, so next, why would you guys say that you decided to get married? Because, you know, it seems like, well, now they say that it's about 49%, you know, of people are getting married here in America. I guess that's just America, but only 49%. So it's gone down, like, you know, the rate of us getting married. So what was it for you all that said, okay, well, I want to go ahead and make this commitment outside of, because, you know, there's other things you can do. You can be, what do they call it, common law married, or just, you know, that's my partner. So whoever wants to answer that first.
Yeah, I want a family. I want kids. I want the atypical family.
Okay.
And I've wanted that, you know, for a long time now. Probably not, I wouldn't say my whole life. There was a period of my life where I was like, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have kids. I want to be as independent and as free as I possibly can be. But there, you know, maybe like 5 to 10 years ago, there was just something that clicked with me. And I've known that I want a family, and I didn't want this, you know, me and Chris, I call her Chris, I'll call her Christina as much as I can. This podcast, me and Christina, like from the jump, you know, when we first started talking, we both were kind of really transparent about what our goal was when we were dating. We weren't dating to just date. We weren't dating to just be physical. We had a clear goal in mind, especially after we really started to click together and it became intertwined. I think we both, you know, and we've always, I mean, I think we've, it's kind of weird to say, but I think we've gone about this in a very like professional, business-like way. Like, to combine income. We were able to make goals, to set timelines, to be realistic about timelines. Because I'll be 38 this year. She'll be 34 this year. So, you know, we both understand that we're not going to be young forever. You know, so I think that both of us dated with intent, and we both kind of knew off the jump, like, you know, marriage is our goal, and you know, whatever comes after that is just, you know, the perk. So,
and you know, I don't think I put this on the list. I just thought about it right now. How long were you guys dating, you know, before you got engaged?
So we got engaged October of last year. So it was about a year-ish that we dated before.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
That's, to me, I feel like that's something to take notes, everyone, you know, because sometimes, you know, folks are thinking like, oh, you got to be dating forever. It's like, no, if you're intentional, that's what I got from that. That's the thing I got, is that when you're intentional and both parties are intentional, that it don't take all that, you know, it don't take all this other stuff. You can actually, you know, start moving forward with your plans, you know, what your vision is, right? And it's just like, okay, I'm aligned, you know, with that. And now we can move forward and, you know, not drag our feet. Because, you know, you see what you have what you want. You know that you have what you want.
Yeah, so. I think too, like with our ages as well, like once you're at a certain age and you know who you are as a person, you know what's to the table, what you're looking for in a partner, it's a lot easier to just transition into those next milestones.
Right.
I will say that. I will say I am a big proponent of truly finding out who you are and not rushing into marriage. Like, I think marriage is great, but I definitely would say that taking time to develop yourself and to figure out who you are, you're not going to find that, and then you're not going to find that while you're married. It's important to do that before you get married, so that you're aware of it and you can make your partner aware of it, you know?
Right. Yeah, I think, you're totally right with that, because you're trying to figure out how to take care of this other person or how to be with this person, and then you don't know yourself. that's going to be an issue, because you're going to struggle, or you're going to just completely abandon, learning about yourself, and then trying to, do your part, gender roles or what have you, in this relationship. And there's going to be this constant, like, I don't know, I would assume it would be this back and forth with who it is that you are in the inside versus who it is that you signed up to be in this marriage, right? And or relationship. And I think it's a disaster. And I think a lot of people have been living a disaster, right? And so it's just like, okay, take that time, maybe that situation wasn't for you. And if you're not married, thank God, so that you can go ahead and go work on yourself and then go back out there, again. But Christine, do you have anything that you wanted to add to about, like, why did you get married? I know you guys were both kind of talking about, just being intentional.
I feel like I feel like we reached a point in the relationship where that was the icing on the cake. That was the only thing that was left, really. It's like, this is so great. This is so good. Like, why not? Just like, why not? Like, why not get married? And I also really wanted to, like, take vows and, like, make it like a official, like, in God's eyes for me. Like, right. I definitely wanted to take a vow and be like, I'm going to be with you for the rest of my life. Kind of take that, like, solid commitment. It's the ultimate commitment. Absolutely. And at that point in our relationship, I was like, this is great. Like, this is not one of those things where I'm second guessing this, or I have any idea or thought in the back of my mind where I'm like, well, maybe I should just, I want to have kids. We have this biological clock. And it's like, no, like, I wouldn't have waited this long for the right person if he wasn't the right person,
Right.
For me, that it was the ultimate commitment, and we were at the ceiling. So that was the only thing that was left. And I was like, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So next, the question that I have, I'm just thinking if it kind of intertwines with some of the other ones, but just if you guys can share, how have you overcame, trials within your relationship? And, can you share how you overcame them, or whichever one, whatever you would like to share about that?
A lot of conversations, like so many times, like when we meet people who are married, we always ask, like, for marriage advice. Like, when we were on our honeymoon, we were like, like, people will be like, oh, we've been married 20 years, 30 years, 10 years. Even people who've been married for 2 years, 6 months. What is your best advice? And the number one thing is always communication. And I think sometimes it can be so painful to communicate. Like, you have this idea, but I will also say, let me take a step back. When you have a partner who makes a safe space for you to bring up these conversations, it's so much easier to communicate. And that starts in the very beginning. Like, when you first meet someone, and there may be something that the person does or that you don't like, and it could be something so small. And that, I would bring it to Corey, or Corey would bring it to me, and how you react in those first few, those first few moments of conflict really sets the tone. So,
right.
Like, yeah. And you have, like, these past relationships, or, instances with not even with a spouse, or like just with, like, family members, where you bring something that you don't like and you're just met with more conflict,
right? Or attacked or something. You're like,
okay, being pointed at you. So when I would bring the small things in the beginning to Corey, and we really never really argued a lot, but when I would bring things to Corey, he would be like, okay, I understand that. I can see that. And you just have to be open-minded, because he'll bring something to me. And even though I never saw that flaw, or I have to realize, like, this is his perception. This is how if he's telling me his feelings are hurt, then they are truly hurt. Like, I trust this man, and I know he's not making this up to try to one up me, or whatever it may be. So I just feel like sometimes when because that tone was already, set, as we got into, like, not harder conflicts, but, bigger issues that come up as the relationship goes on, you feel safe to be like, hey, this is bothering me. I will say that it's like, know your moment. Don't bring it up after you've been at work all day or you're hungry.
Irritable.
There's time. Yeah, know when there's time to bring things up. And I just think that he's always created a safe space for me to be able to communicate, to allow this relationship to thrive. But communicating when it's, like I said, when it's painful, when you're like, we probably have talked about this 2 or 3 times, but it's still bothering me. And I want to bring it up and I want to talk about it more. And he's just like, okay, we can talk about it. And we will talk about it on both sides until we're both comfortable with it. And again, you're just like, oh, I know we just had this conversation. And a lot of times you'll just push it down and you'll push it down. And then it might blow up in another argument. But if you have some unresolved conflict, just keep, even if it's painful, just talk about it. But also as the opposite partner, be respectful and be open and realize that your partner is not making this up. They're truly hurt, and you love the person. So you should hear them out and just communicate.
No, I love that. And it was making me think, how a lot of times we're, as a woman, we're looking for that, safe space. And we know that it's, men need a safe space too. And so I wanted to ask Corey, like, how does, Christina show up, for you in that way, in creating that safe space? Because, we always talk about the men and we're like, ooh, girl, she said her man create a safe space, child. That's what I'm talking about. And they want to get on their man and be like, baby, why can't you give me a safe space? So I wanted to hear from you, on how, Christina does that for you.
Yeah, no, she's always been a little feisty, and because she's a Virgo, she's strong, she's a little feisty, but she's always very understanding. That's the best thing about her is she has lived, she's not entitled, she's not above anything or anyone. And so I've always felt that I can come to her with anything. And, there are, like she's saying, there are uncomfortable conversations that people don't want to have. You don't want to talk about sex sometimes. If the sex is good, if the sex is bad, you don't want to talk about it. But sometimes those kind of conversations bring the best sex life you've ever had.
Right.
Sometimes, you don't want to talk about depression and anxiety and mental health, but if you don't talk about those things with your partner, they won't know when you're sad and what to do when you're sad or when you're feeling depressed or when you're feeling, some type of anxiety. Yeah. She's always made me feel comfortable and been understanding enough that I can talk to her about anything. And I don't feel like, I don't feel lesser than. I don't feel lesser than what some people may consider a man should be. She's always made me feel like a man, even when I'm, when I'm vulnerable and I'm coming to her with something that I don't like or I don't want. So very understanding, and I love that about her.
Oh, I can't stand you guys. It's so cute. I'm like, getting the feels. I'm like, I feel like I'm watching one of my chick flicks, like it's so great. But it should be. It's fresh. But okay. So what would you say that was something that you learned about marriage thus far, right? I know it's new, but still. What would you say that you learned about marriage that no one shared with you? Because sometimes they don't be telling us the right stuff. Like, I feel like they don't be telling you the right stuff. Even when it came, for me, I've never been married, but living with someone. And I remember thinking like, dang, like if we were to get married, like no one told me that this is what they do, like when you live together, all that stuff. So what would you guys say?
I would say like showing up, I think you see it in like movies. They say it in some movies and shows, but I saw my parents do it sometimes, to be honest with you, but I didn't realize how often you have to show up. Like you can't take a day off in marriage. You just can't. Like you have to show up. If they are upset, you have to show up and be there for them, and be there for them when they're sick. when,
I was on the honeymoon.
When they're sick, we weren't married at the time, but we both got COVID. We both and we got it on off days. So I was sick, she was cool, and then she got sick, and I'm feeling good. But you got to be there for them.
Right.
I the other day I got a crazy allergy reaction, and I was just feeling bad, and she just got her stuff and was like, I'm gonna go get you some medicine from the store. And I was like, babe, I'm fine. Like, I'm trying to tough it out. And she's like, no, I will go.
Right.
She took time in her lunch to go get me medicine. And it's just like, you got to show up every single day. And you kind of don't think about that before you get married. You kind of think, oh, well, I can retain some of my independence. I can be Corey. I don't have to always be Christina and Corey. And I just don't believe it. I think every day you show up for your partner and you put them first, and good things will come in your relationship,
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right. What would you say, Christina?
I would say for me, I feel like there's a certain level of like security that I have now. Like, and it's going to sound so silly, and it's not a great answer like Corey had, but like little things where like, not that like, I mean, I never want to, you hear those like cliche things where it's like, oh, like he or she let themselves go after they got married. And like, you don't feel that way, but I am not primping myself. Like, I know like sometimes like I would make sure like my hair was a certain way. You feel like I woke up or I went to bed, or like, I had like a little crust out of my eyes, but now I'm just like, hey, I'm here. We married, it is a certain level of like security where, and it's not even just like look wise, like where I just know he's always going to be there. Cause like, I know like for sometimes like if you have a bad day and you're just in a mood, you don't know why, your partner didn't do anything. Maybe it was work. Maybe someone cut you off on the tollway, and now you're just fuming as you're coming in through like the apartment complex within like the last 10 minutes. And, you come in and then you don't want to put that energy out there because you don't want your partner to feel like you did something or put them in a bad mood. But in a way, you're just like, you can just be open and be like, it's not you. I'm just having a bad day. Like,
right.
Happen at the job, and then he'll be like, oh, babe, and that like he's not gonna judge me or be like, oh, what are you complaining about now? It's just like, it's a security thing.
Right. And I think it's because you guys have showed each other that you're committed to each other. Right. And then when you got married, it's like, it's real, like it's real, like for sure. And so maybe that is where that security comes from, is because you guys got together. You said, I like you, you like me. Said, okay, we want to be with each other for real. Then we said, okay, these are our plans. This is what we want, for our life, we want marriage and all that. And all of that happened. It kind of goes back to what you said in the beginning about whatever he said he was going to do, he did, and that built a trust for you on your end. And I'm sure that things, the way that you showed up for him built a trust for him as well. And so that's probably where that sense of, peace comes from, is like, okay, now I don't have to wonder if I had road rage, is he going to be like, who did I marry? Like, wait a minute. It's like, no, you've been seeing this. You agreed to this. Okay? But yeah, oh my gosh. So what would you guys say some of the myths are, the best kept secrets about marriage? I guess this is kind of more of like the good things, too, about,
I think the security. I think that, like, I never want to take her for granted. I never want to stop being the best version of myself because she signed the dotted line, and you know what I mean? But that's the best thing about taking that step. And I will reiterate, man, I do not think that you should get married unless you understand what it is and you are ready for it. But if you understand what it is and you're ready for it, having the security of knowing that you and your partner have committed to one another forever gives you a lane for for security in everything, in your finances, in your health, in your future. You know, you always got somebody to lean on, and that's such a good thing to have in today's world, knowing that you got somebody that has your back all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That person to lean on, and they're able to lean on you, and they want you to lean on them as well as, you know, the other way around. And that's huge. Thanks, you know, Corey, you dropping them gems too. For sure. Because I think that's very important, you know, like these days you're hearing more people say, well, what's the point of getting married? You know, like it's so ugly out here in these streets. It is, you know. And then it really the social media. I think social media, we just everybody need a break for for some months, you know, maybe even a year, but I don't know if you can survive it, right? That'll show them what they're made of. They can survive no social media for a year. But you know, like you're hearing people, you know, it's the whole I don't need a man, and then there's the whole what's the point in getting a wife? I don't, you know, like, you know, what am I going to do? Save some money? And it's just like, no, there's so much more, you know, to marriage, and so many things, you know, to value. And so I definitely wanted to, you know, ask you guys that. And Christina, what would you say that, you know, what are some of the best kept secrets about marriage?
I mean, I don't know if it's really like a secret, but like in a true partnership, like when you're truly meant for someone and you're compatible, like you just literally have like a best friend. Like I think there's a lot of people that from what I hear from, and I parents gonna watch this, but you see, like, you know, like they live these separate lives in a way. Like they have separate hobbies and like things that they enjoy, and then they really only have like, you know, family that kind of keeps them, you know, they have like their shows and stuff, but there's really no hardwired things that are keeping them together. And I feel like for us, like we legit are like best friends. Like we do the cooking blog together. Like I don't grocery shop by myself. Like, do you know how awesome it is to have like a man to like push the cart, and you're just like, okay, and this and this. Like, I don't even grocery shop. Like Costco would give me anxiety if I had to go by myself. We do almost everything together, but we are not dependent. We still have our separate times. Like on Sundays, if he wants to do something with his friends, or if I want to do something with my homegirl, or I like to just be in my head reading a magazine, a book, like we still are individuals and we have individual interests, but our individual interests kind of still run on the same line. So, and we always try to do something like new or different. Like we're trying to do the ballet this year. We went horse racing last weekend, like horse betting. Like we just try to do something different. I think like, I don't know if it's a secret or a myth, but if you're truly compatible, like you end up getting like a best friend that you can just
that's such a good point. And I remember meeting some years back when I worked where was I working? I don't know, but there is this guy. Oh, I think it's when I had transferred. I worked for Home Depot, worked in human resources, and then I transferred to the store when I moved to Texas. And there was a guy who would do these different little projects and stuff like that on the side. He would always be in there because he had like a contracting business on the side, and he was just so great. And him and his wife, they would like do these dance competitions. And I just thought that was so great. I'm like, oh my gosh. So he was showing me the pictures, and I was like, it was like you guys were like Dancing with the Stars, you know? and he would just tell me, because I love learning from like older couples and people who just, you know, like are still like giddy, you know, about their partners. And one thing that I've noticed, the ones who are is like the fun activities that they both like to do, and just doing those together and dancing together. If you dance together, I don't know. I don't see how it can't, you know, stay hot, you know, but they're so cute. They were so cute. Like he's this tall, big old chocolate guy, and she's this little feisty number. She gives me this Shaka Khan, you know, vibes. And they dance together and just, you know, just do little fun stuff, but that's really like their thing. And so like, I love that. So when you guys were speaking about like, you know, just having those things that you do together, it does make a difference, because I noticed, you know, like even with my parents, you know, I think now, after 20 some odd years, they're going on, I think like 28 years, but towards this latter part, I see them, figuring out different things, to do together. Cause my mom is just like me, like talks and, is very like vibrant and things. And my stepdad's kind of like, just chilling, older, ex-military, and I feel like now he's kind of like getting a little bit more, enjoying like the relationships, because he didn't have a lot of friends, so my mom's friends kind of become his friends, like the spouses and stuff, and they're just finding those things now to do together. But I feel like if they had something earlier on, it would have been, to me, I feel like it would have probably helped in so many different ways. Just easier to get over things when you have different things that you like to do together and you enjoy that person doing it with you. You're like, okay, we're not going to fight anymore because we got, poker night, or whatever. We have, this to do. So, yeah. But, yeah. So I guess next, what would you guys say, keeps you guys together? You think that those are some of the things that, keeps you together? Because one thing I have to just say, and what I just love is, we'll be in the gym. See, I met Christina in the gym. Girl, I'm calling Christina in the gym. And one thing, I see, because usually it's kind of like hit or miss. Like sometimes y'all be in the gym together, but usually like Corey will do his thing. You'll be in there at a different time, and I always be talking to her, distracting her. But one thing I see when I seen you guys come together, be in there at the same time, is just like how excited that you are to see him. It's just like, y'all live together. And it was just crazy because like, I know you just seen him, like I know you just seen him before you came down, but just like the excitement. I was just like, that's special, and just, too, Corey's like chilling, but like, you can tell, like, I can tell too, the love that he has for you, like on the bridal shower time, he was just like, yeah, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to be married right now. And I'm just like, okay, I love this. I love this that, you guys are very sure. That's one thing that I noticed is just that sureness. Like, there's no place I'd rather be, than with this, other person. And that's dope because, these days it's like we're kind of losing a little hope. Like, does it still?
Don't hope.
God, are you there? Like, okay, do you hear me? Like,
he out there, girl. He out there.
Of course. I mean, yes, definitely, for sure. I'm sure he's what's keeping me going every single day. It's like, I got you. You just go sit down, get out the way. Quit meddling, Let me do some things, So, well, what would you guys say? Like, is there a particular thing that you feel like keeps you guys together? Maybe I said it already.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, it's the want, it's the maturity that we have, that we recognize that you have to be present and you have to want to make it work. So, like she's touched on, there's a lot of times where you're tired and you don't want to have not arguments but discussions. I would call them, but you do it because you want to work at the marriage and the relationship because it's important to you. And so that's what I always make sure is that I keep that want alive so that I show up every day.
Okay. And Christina?
I think we have we have a lot of common hobbies that we do. Like we're always like creating, or like the cooking blog, or we're working out and we're looking up new supplements to take, or
making a baby.
Babe. All that. There's always like things that we're doing together to like just stay in line. And
we keep each other motivated. To be honest with you, I just started working out in the gym like last year. I played basketball a lot of my life. I was never a big weightlifting work guy. But she from day one of meeting her, she's been into fitness, and she's very consistent with her gym routine. And so she's an accountability partner when I'm like, oh, I'm going to skip the gym today. I see her getting her stuff.
Now I feel like he's an accountability partner because I used to skip weekends and he would be like, no, I'm going. And you're like, I'm just laying in the bed. I guess I'm going to the gym too, like.
Right.
And it's so funny because when we first started dating, like I would have all these vitamins that I was taking. And then now, like, fast forward and like he's telling me, did you take your vitamins? Did you take your vitamins? And I'm like, I created a monster, like,
Right.
Like,
that's good though. A good monster though. It's like, no, I think that's awesome. Yeah. To have that. And basically what I feel like I, heard from that is just that you guys you enjoy each other. And so, enjoying each other and enjoying doing these things together, it makes sense. Like, that's what keeps us together is that, it's good, it's a good thing. And it's nice to just have someone around that you like them being there. And, and as bubbly as I am, as many people as I talk to, you would think like, I'm just friends with everyone. I'm friendly to everyone, but there are some people that I just enjoy them being around. I just feel like I'm smiling most of the time, my guy and girlfriends. And then there's some people that I'm just like, yeah, like I'm smiling, but I'm like, all right, well, I'm out, like so, those people, they may or may not know who they are, but like, yeah, like I just think that's nice for the people that are in my life who I just really enjoy them. I'm like, oh, can't get enough. I'm like, oh, I wish you could stay, like a little kid, like you got to go home. But yeah. So what, another thing that I, learned from you in our conversations, when you were just dropping them gems on me in the gym, I was like, oh, okay. Like I need y'all to be on the show because just some of these amazing things that you learn, through therapy and whatnot, I feel like they were inspiring. And just wanted you guys to share, like what made you guys do the inspired the premarital counseling and like how you guys did it. Did you do the therapy, like just individual therapy by yourselves and then come together? Did you guys both do that, or how did you go about that?
So we did individual. So I will say before we started dating, I was like in a singles group at church. And so being in a singles group, I feel like really prepared me for like the dating world. Like I remember like this one woman, she was like, well, how do you know that this is a good spouse? This is like a good partner. And I remember like the pastor, or I forgot who it was, but he was like, like 1 Corinthians, like if you can put this person's name in front of each one, if it rings true when you say it, like Corey is not jealous. Corey just like, and I can put his name in front of all of them. And it just was like, like, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so I started
like the definition of love, like Corey is fine, yeah. Okay.
But so I was in like singles groups. So that kind of helped me with like my spiritual awakening for what kind of partner I wanted. I felt like that started to attract like good things for me. Yeah. But when I thought I was ready, and I was ready, but it did open my mind. But there was a lot of like baggage that I feel like I brought from just my upbringing, other relationships, how I dealt with conflict, and I thought that I was the best communicator, but like my tone, and I'm still working on this to this day, is
right. To this day.
Like my tone can be very, like my delivery and my tone can be a little like harsh. So, and it was just like, maybe I need some things that I need to work on. So you just go to, you go to counseling and you go to therapy, and it helps you. And, and I've gone to therapy, for other things that have gone on in life, not just for relationships. I think therapy is just fantastic in general, but that was for the individual one. And I think we both did individual. And then we were just like, why not do premarital? Like, don't wait until something is broken to try to
be proactive.
Yeah, like, let's be proactive. Like, let's go to premarital counseling. And we were looking to do an officiant, like through like Thumbstack or like, like one of those apps or whatever. And they were like $350, $400 to like just to officiate. And we were like, I was talking about it at work one day, and one of my coworkers overheard, and she was like, well, you don't my husband's a pastor and he'll marry you for free, but you have to do premarital counseling. And I was like, we were going to do premarital counseling anyway, but this was from a biblical standpoint. So we were just like, okay, we are totally on board with this. Right. So we did, I think, what was it, 4 sessions?
Yeah, 4 sessions.
Yeah, we did 4 sessions with him, and eye-opening. Like we walked away from that every time just being like more solidified that this is the right choice. Like this is the right, this is my partner, this is my person, because he would be throwing things at us and, you know, prompting us to think, and we would be like, we on the same page with this. Like this.
Right. It's like surprising, like certain things that you didn't even know maybe that you needed to bring up, and then finding out that you're in alignment. Yeah, that's good. That's that clarity that you need. Because I know some people get nervous, you know, like beforehand, and I like a couple of different, not matchmaker, but like kind of therapists, marriage counselors say is that, you know, if my clients, you know, would have came before they got married, you know, they wouldn't be here now because they, you know, they would have been doing the work and not in here for those problems that they're having now, you know, that you could kind of discover beforehand, you know, through the premarital.
Like once you go to therapy, like, because I think it takes a lot, because you want to feel like you can solve all your problems and that you don't need. You know, a lot of times there was like, oh, you crazy, you going to therapy, it's got to be something wrong with you, you know? And sometimes
that's a stigma. And
then once you break that and you go, you're quicker to go back for like, just for maintenance. That's just not sitting right with your spirit, family issues. And I think even in the future, if we feel like we're not in line with something, it's going to be so much easier to be like, hey, you want to go to therapy and talk about it with someone?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we've already broken that barrier of that shame of going to therapy individually or together, you know?
Right. No. And I feel like that's a good, people don't realize, but they should be doing therapy instead of calling their family members because some people are calling their family members and making those family members like literally need therapy because they're hitting them with all this stuff. And then I think too, you don't have to worry about someone like just knowing or talking about your business. You know, you can just get to what it is that you're trying to get to, which is resolving the issue instead of creating other ones. And you know, don't get me wrong. Like, sometimes you might want to talk to your family about different things, but as so many, you know, people have said, couples, or just advice that I've heard is that, you know, not having everyone in your business, you know, and so I feel like that having a therapist, you know, is good for that, because it's just like they can help you, they'll listen, give you some tools, you know, help you through, and then you figure it out without broadcasting it on Facebook. You know, some folks be like, you know, got their business all on there, and then everybody wants to come. You're like, okay, listen, this is not a family discussion. So Corey.
Sorry.
If you have anything to, you know, add to that, like.
Yeah, no, I agree. Therapy was something that I did personally for personal reasons. I have anxiety. You know, there's a lot of things that I wanted help learning to manage.
Okay.
And so when the couples therapy was sort of brought up as an option, I was 100% on board, because I realized what therapy did for me individually, and I thought it would do the same thing for us as a couple, which is, like you said, at the very least, provide you with the tools to help you get through the problems that you may have. And so our pastor, his name is Edward Robinson, and he was our officiant, and he was also our pre-marriage counselor. And he was one of the, you know, he's became a role model for me. He was married for, Edward's been married for like 20 plus years. He was in the military, and he's just, you know, he's a good old Southern gentleman, and great job of putting us in a position to be successful in our marriage. So.
No, that's so awesome. Need more of that, you know, and it's just kind of like another person there in your life, you know, to guide you. Hold on really quick. Okay. Sorry about that. I was checking that. So, well, next we're going to kind of like, wrap it up. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to share about like what about your marriage brings you joy. And then, if we can end with, advice for singles that desire marriage.
Me, I love like having, someone that I see a future with. And I think that's the thing. I'm very big on where I want to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. And I think the best joy that marriage brings me is knowing that I always have somebody with me by my side on this journey. I've spent, I'm 37 this year. I'll be 38 this year, actually. And so I've spent a lot of time single. I've spent a lot of time in small relationships, whatever it may be. And I know that having somebody to live my life with me is very important to me. So that's the joy that marriage brings me, is just knowing I got somebody by my side for sure. Yeah. And what was the second part?
Advice for
Oh yeah, advice. I would say wait, man. Wait till you're 30 plus.
Yeah.
Take time to find out who you are. Kind of like what you touched on earlier. You get married to somebody and you're not sure of who you are, and then y'all may end up growing this way instead of growing this way, because you're both going in two completely different directions. So it's very important for you to know who you are and know what you want before you decide to get married. I mean, date for 5 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. Find out who you are and make sure you know that person before you commit to something as serious as marriage, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, for me, the joy, I mean, it's having like a lifetime partner. Like, just like the simplest things, like we will literally, like, he's just so sweet. Like, we'll wake up and he'll be like, "Morning, babe. Like, how'd you sleep?" And you're just like, "Is this a dream?" Like,
said, it's just Corey for me. It's the Corey for me.
So kind. And I think like even when you don't want to be, you need to be kind to your partner. Like, you really do. Like, choosing your partner and showing up, like, you need to be kind, because although your relationship, you can scream how strong it is, but this thing is fragile. Like, it is like the smallest thing could really spiral a relationship, a marriage, just out of control. So you have to, just like treat it with care, like it's, be gentle with the relationship. So like, I think just the joy is just having him as a partner, and just like, he's literally my best friend. Sorry, Christine, but he's my best friend. My advice for singles, single women, to be honest with you, date. Like, and I don't want to say like, if you're not looking to get married, just date, have a good time, get your own place, go on vacation, explore who you are. And when I say date, I mean date so you can find out what you don't like in men. I know a lot of times people are like, oh, well, you need to like, be one with yourself and be an individual and like stop being a serial dater and like, like heal. And yes, you do want to heal, but the way you find out about yourself and what you do and don't like is by interacting with other people and dating.
Right.
So if you're just sitting on the couch and you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to be on TikTok all day and he's just going to come to my door, you may not be ready. You may not even know that that's a red flag because you haven't experienced that red flag before.
Right.
So, again, wait. Like, you don't need to be married at 27, 28, 29. Like, you may want to wait till you're in your 30s and live your life, have your own apartment, be single, be safe, and travel, and just find out again who you are before you try to, commingle a whole relationship with someone.
Attach yourself. Yeah. Attaching yourself. Because that's what it'll be. It's like literally it's like an attachment. And you just leached onto this person and like holding on for dear life. And it's just like, no, like know yourself. But I think that's such great advice is, you know, is to know yourself, know who you are, know what you like, know what you don't like, and accept those things about yourself, right? Because you could be liking certain things and completely be hiding yourself, which then you're not really showing up as your authentic self anyway. So that partner comes along and they don't see you because you over here got 5,000 masks on, you know, and not because of the pandemic.
Yes. Oh, and one last thing, have
Yes.
realistic expectations.
Okay.
I think sometimes people have these,
Wow,
this real long
good
list of what they want out of a partner, and you'd be like, do you even bring that list? Like, you know, like,
Exactly.
please, like, you know, find out what your true, your core and your morals are that you want in a partner. And if you find that, then like, you're good. Like, you don't just reel your expectations in a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been awesome. I absolutely loved it. I was like, oh, I'm looking forward to just listening back, you know, to this as well later. So super exciting. And thank you so much, you know, for you all being here. I know we've been talking about it for some time. And so it's finally here, finally happened. And I'm very grateful. And I think that there were just a lot of gems, and congratulations again, you know, on the marriage. You guys are beautiful for sure. And yeah, before we go, like Corey, I know that you have not a channel, but do you have a YouTube channel too?
Oh no, it's a blog. I'm an amateur chef, and I like to eat at nice restaurants. So I blog my recipes and my travels. So yeah, it's cooked. It's on Instagram at cooked_by_Corey. Yeah, check me out, give me a follow, and yeah, you'll see good restaurants and good food for sure.
Yeah. All righty. Well, to the audience, thank you so much for always being here and supporting us. And until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you. Bye.